The Republican Party is now Donald Trump. Actually, Donald Trump has given the Republican Party the mojo to be who they had already become. Let's listen to Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, and then let's take it on the other side.
This term, there are legitimate white supremacist sympathizers that sit at the heart and at the core of the Republican caucus in the House of Representatives. And when you see someone like the House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy of the Republican Party, respond to white supremacist vitriol coming from his own members, not with censure like they did with Representative Steve King of Iowa, not with, being stripped of committees, not with any consequence, you have to wonder who actually has that power. And it increasingly seems, unfortunately, that in the House Republican caucus, Kevin McCarthy answers to these QAnon members of Congress, not the other way around. And that is something that frankly needs to be said. He said he was going to pull Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene aside after her comments to Parkland activists and comments saying that Muslim Americans should not fully and freely serve in the House, that they must be forced to swear on a Bible, etc. But I've seen Kevin McCarthy pull someone aside before for a talking to. And that representative that I last saw him do that to was Representative Ted Yoho of Florida. And what Kevin McCarthy did was that he pulled him aside to essentially excuse his behavior, to allow it and to abet it. And actually, Kevin McCarthy's lack of holding his own caucus accountable is one major reason why I went to the floor last year to hold Yoho accountable myself. And so when I hear that Representative McCarthy is going to pull a member aside who has made white supremacist sympathizing comments, the thing that I think is, what is he going to tell them? Keep it up? Because there are no consequences in the Republican caucus for violence. There's no consequences for racism, no consequences for misogyny, no consequences for insurrection. And no consequences means that they condone it. It means that silence is acceptance. And they want it because they know that it is a core animating political energy for them. And this is an extremely dangerous threshold that we have crossed because we are now away from acting out of fealty to their president that they had in the Oval Office. And now we are talking about fealty to white supremacist organizations as a political tool. And for, Republicans that are in that caucus that are unwilling to hold that accountable or to distance themselves from it, we really need to ask ourselves what they are evolving into, because this is no longer about a party of limited government. This is about something much more nefarious.
It was never a party of limited government. It was always a party of limited government given support to the people, but always a government very strong in supporting corporations, very strong in supporting wars, very strong in supporting anything that would make the plutocracy a lot of money. But let's get to the issues. She enumerated that there are no consequences for any one of these issues, whether it be racism, sexism, anti-Semitism. It doesn't matter what the ism is. There's not a consequence. We saw all those isms on the Capitol as the unpatriotic, seditious insurrectionists went and invaded the Capitol. We saw all those isms. And not one of those isms have really been called out by the rank and file Republican leaders, except for Romney and a couple others. But it's not about them losing their way. It's that they are actually allowing people to see who they are. Luckily in this election, where we got masses on all sides coming out, we saw that the majority of Americans would not live with it, would not tolerate it. The majority of Americans are good people. And that is what's important. And that is why it is incumbent on Democrats within the next few months to make a difference. If you don't make a difference this next few months, you open the door for these guys to get in. and they were pretty incompetent in their coup this time around. The next time around, they've already had their trial run. They know what they need to clean up. They now know how to get things done the next time around. Because you know what? If we fail to perform, we won't have those who are urgent, who are really pushing us to succeed, because we would have already failed. So we better get our act together. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.